Picture this. You're a gamer. Good job. As a gamer, you've definitely finished every game in your library and have no backlog whatsoever. Now, you're dying for some new content. You instinctively refresh your social media pages and digital storefronts until something new finally shows up. Except throw some air quotes on that new, because it's not actually new. It's a game that came out 15 years ago with slightly updated resolution, and they're charging full price. That's right. $70 you'll have to pay for this game that, as it just so happens, you already own. What a disappointment. What a letdown, I'm sure you're thinking. And you're justified in thinking that. But if that's the end of your thought process, then you're a selfish person. Yeah, plot twist, I'm flipping the script. Maybe you already have the game, but there's a lot of people who probably don't have the game and haven't experienced the glory of the game. 15 years ago, it was a game that everybody could get their hands on, but now it's an overpriced retro game that retro game companies are overcharging for. Now people can't enjoy the game as easily anymore. As greedy as many developers are, it's better for the industry that re-releases are kept a thing in order to preserve the games of the past and make them more accessible to our modern audience. If we're going to normalize regular video game re-releases, then we definitely gotta fix these prices lower. You honestly expect me to pay more than what the game was originally priced after you essentially did no work to improve it? I was honestly shocked and surprised at how these game companies are essentially begging for donations, but then I remembered who said video game companies were, and I'm no longer shocked. As odd as it seems to take advice from the following game company for how we should price re-releases, Nintendo has had some good ideas in that department. Now before you all riot for me suggesting to take advice from Nintendo, I'm not talking about modern Nintendo. Their current reputation as one of the greedier, sue-happy companies is well-founded. Once upon a time, there was this thing called the Nintendo Virtual Console. The Virtual Console is basically an official emulator. The big thing to note from all this was the price. Nintendo would charge $5 for NES classic titles and $8 for SNES classic titles. And that was over a decade ago. If we adjusted that price today to account for how old these video games are, I don't think people would be up in arms every time we saw a new re-release. In our modern digital world, we should be able to play all of the digital games that we've purchased on each new platform for no cost, and have the old games available for lower and lower prices for the newer generations of gamers. We need to have re-releases, but we also need to have the companies do it right, and also to spite the secondhand retro game peddlers that are making money by selling your games for exorbitant prices. Nintendo, how are you okay with that? Why haven't you tried suing them yet, huh? Of all people, you let this slide? I hate these guys. These companies are overcharging your old games and making more money off of them than you probably ever did. So why aren't you doing anything about it? I get that it would be a very greedy thing to try like revoking the game licenses for all those retro games and trying to prevent the resale of them. But honestly, I hate the retro game companies more than Nintendo if they stopped us from reselling our old games. Then after Nintendo does the whole thing, we can all get mad at them as a community and band together in order to force them to lower the prices of their re-releases. For this particular instance, I'm thinking back to about a year or two ago when Wizards of the Coast tried to change their open game license for Dungeons & Dragons. As a Dungeons & Dragons player, it was pretty important that the open game license remained the way it was, and everyone in that community banded together and boycotted Dungeons & Dragons until eventually Wizards of the Coast changed their mind. I feel like we could all do that for the game companies today. We have the power. This has worked in the past. We have to realize that we have the power over these game companies. We just need to work together in order to get what we want. Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, all these guys, they think they're so high and mighty, but really, they're all tanking. Okay, not Nintendo. Nintendo's doing ridiculously well. But Microsoft and Sony, they're tanking already. We know that we can influence them as a community, so let's do it more. Please, save the gaming industry. Gamers need to band together in these uncertain times. Now more than ever, who do we have to turn to but each other? Our only allies, our fellow gamers. Join us in the fight for this industry. It's about time that consumers understand. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Please consider rioting against these companies, twist their arm to do what we want, and also consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me, especially in this early era of my channel.